Understanding Gen Z. This is the focus group.
They're all business, except when they're not. It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host, Mr. John T. Nash. We are the, not companion, we are the original business show, actually, for satellite radio. The original, the first original content, wasn't it, John? Business content for satellite radio on Sirius XM radio. And going into our 18th year, we also have a podcast called TFG Unbuttoned, which is released just in audio, 20 minutes in and out. And that's on Tuesdays, so learn all about us at focusgroupradio.com and find all of our media there. You'll also find some of our partners, including Deep Discount. And later on, John will visit and reveal the movies that we used for Pick That Flick during Criterion Month, brought to you by Deep Discount. So we'll do that later on in the show. Mr. Nash, I was going to call you over the weekend. I didn't want to bother you, though.
What were you going to call about?
Have you watched? have you seen this show called On Brand with Jimmy Fallon?
No. Does he do a bunch of like ads or something? I was flipping through. It's kind of a la The Apprentice.
So Jimmy Fallon and this woman who's on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but formerly head of marketing at Uber and Netflix, stayed at both places for about 10 minutes. You know how that works. But they bring in 10 contestants, and they have to do these campaigns. They have an hour to come up with a campaign. So somebody from the company comes in of these 8 famous brands. The first week it was Dunkin' Donuts. This past week it was Southwest Airlines. But the person from the company comes out and tells you what to do. And Jimmy Fallon's hosting, and this other woman, I'll say her name wrong, Bozoma, B-O-Z-O-M-A, St. John. And they're supposed to work with them, I guess, to come up with these ideas or pitches for brand campaigns. But none of the people have marketing backgrounds. There's a real estate agent. There's somebody who's a kind of a hawker at a carnival.
Is that the shtick? Like that they don't have the background to do it? Is that?
Well, I initially thought, oh, my God, this is great. I wonder if they were going to have people like us or marketers or somebody come on and work. But I guess that would not be entertaining.
No.
So they do this, but then they give them an hour to come up with an idea. And for instance, Southwest Airlines this past week, they were going to talk about how they were offering more leg room. And so they gave each contestant an hour to come up with an idea, and then they put them together in groups, and then they've got to do a pitch to the company, all done in 42 minutes. And
you're talking about a process that could take, in the real world,
weeks.
And
and that's what everybody says. Everyone says if you're thinking you're getting an inside look as to how marketing works, you'll be sadly disappointed. Okay. And most people have said this thing is unwatchable. I watched because I thought it was a bit of a train wreck. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. But Jimmy Fallon is Jimmy Fallon. This marketing person, supposedly marketing expert, who's now on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, didn't have much to give other than, if you don't come up with good ideas, you're going to be off the show next week. And that was about her coaching.
That's kind of like Heidi Klum on Project Runway. 1 minute you're in, the next
you're
out.
Next minute you're out. And so I just found it, I guess the concept I thought was pretty cool, but
Execution.
I was shocked it made it on air.
All right, so you gave concept a 9 because you never give a 10.
Yeah, I'd say 8 or 9. Good idea. Execution 2.
2, okay. By the way, folks, Tim never gives. I once took a survey, and Tim goes, "What? You gave 10s?" We were both doing this thing, and I saw that I gave. He goes, "Oh, no, you never give a 10." And I'm like, "Why not? There's always room for improvement."
Right, nobody's perfect. I used to get in trouble at Subaru for my reviews because I was pretty tough, and nobody ever got an outstanding. And you remember John Regini? He would fight me all the time. I said, "You were good." I said, "You met expectations." I said, "I'm not so sure it was outstanding."
I can imagine Regini sitting in front of you.
What do I have to do to get an outstanding? I said, "You're not going to get one. I don't give anybody an outstanding. Nobody gets an outstanding."
All right, so back to the Fallon thing. Concept 8 or 9, execution 2. In other words, it's a pass.
Well, I'm going to be curious to see what brands have signed up because that's the big reveal each week. So it's been so far.
Who's on board? Okay.
So it's Dunkin' and then Southwest Airlines. So I'll be curious to see who else comes. And then whatever contestant, so they vote somebody off, or like Trump, they kick somebody off like they did in The Apprentice each week.
You're fired. Yeah.
Yeah. And the one who remains standing gets $100,000 at the end of the show.
I tell you. Now, on another note, I think that I have two solutions for the government shutdown. We'll see how long it lasts. The first one would be the Democrats vote to approve the continuing resolution if they release all the Epstein files immediately.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay, so you know that's not going to happen. The second is I'm not even sure why the Democrats are fighting this, because when the affordable health care subsidies run out at the end of the year and everybody's insurance goes up like crazy numbers, then who do you blame? There's only one party that controls all of D.C. They should have just let it happen. Or they should just say right now, fine, we're not going to fight for it. We'll talk to and you know how the Republicans are. Well, we'll negotiate with you later. They just lie through their teeth.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we'll negotiate later, and then they don't negotiate, and the premiums go up, and who do you blame, right?
I heard some pundits over the weekend, which I thought was a good point you just made, that had the same point of view. They said just let them go, get the clean CR, and then in October, toward the end of October, early November, when everybody's signing up for insurance and sees their rates go up 20%, 30%, 50%, whatever the number is, then they're going to have to answer to it, because they said right now, if you hold off on it to fight for it, they're still eventually going to have to open the government. However, they think it would have had a bigger impact to have it happen while they were supposedly going to be talking about it.
Agreed.
So yeah, so we'll see, but I think everybody's concerned. We have such an insurance and health care problem in our country, even before this has come to light.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how we eventually fix it. Obviously, there are Western countries now. They certainly don't have the populations we have, but they seem to have figured it out, and we just can't seem to figure out. Healthcare puts a lot of people in debt. Mm-hmm. And
medical
bankruptcy.
Debt, which no one wants medical debt.
No.
Anyway, we'll see how it plays out. I watch Squawk Box in the morning. I try to avoid the talk shows and the politics. It's almost impossible because this party and this president likes getting up in your face everywhere. Everything. There's something to do, right?
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. And then of course Mike Johnson, you probably saw this. There's apparently somebody that has says he has proof allegedly that Mike
Grindr.
Johnson has a Grindr profile, but they want him to really. If this guy really has it, why hasn't he released it?
I saw the video that you're talking about, and he claims a number of people have the same information. If something happens to him, they'll release it. It sounds like some kind of spy v spy thing, right? Oh, speaking of which, and this is totally not on topic, but have you watched the movie Black Bag on Amazon Prime?
No.
It's a really Cate Blanchett, Michael
Write that down.
Fassbender.
Black Bag.
Black Bag. It's a British film. It's about spies and about some stuff that's going on, and it's just really well done. Bob's coworker, when he was working, recommended it. It's finally for free on Amazon Prime.
Is it a movie or is it a series?
It's a movie. Okay. So you're in, you're out. And it's a well done movie, well
Perfect. Cast
as well. Yeah, you and I like things like that, right?
So do you think this Mike Johnson thing is real, John, or what?
You know, they've been kicking that can around for a while because he had some adopted son that disappeared after a while.
He had a what? Isn't he
Remember
married
he said
he
he adopted someone years ago, a young man, and then no one can seem to find him, or like, where's your adopted son? It's kind of like that. What's his Matt Gates had an adopted boy or someone that he took care of. Like, I just go back to the fact that when Charlie Kirk's memorial service was going on, Grindr exploded. Whatever part of the country that was in, remember, like Grindr went crazy.
Shut down the internet.
Yeah, shut down
the internets. Shut it down.
I don't know. That just where there's smoke, there's often fire. Maybe not.
All the time. There's never not fire when there's smoke, right? When there's smoke, there's fire. So, Mr. Nash, what caught your eye this week?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
Still getting used to triggering these things on our new production suite. mine comes to us from China, and it's a new bridge that opened over in a huge gorge. I don't think Tim would ever visit this in a million years. So it's called the Huajiang Grand Canyon Bridge. It soars about 2,050 feet above a river in Guizhou province, more than twice as high as its highest counterpart in the U.S. So the world's highest bridge opened in China on Sunday, taking the crown from another bridge in the same province. So China has all these amazing architectural and civil engineering things going on, bridges in particular. So this Huajiang Grand Canyon Bridge soars 22,000 feet above a river and gorge in the southern Chinese province of Guizhou. It is more than twice as high as the Royal Gorge Bridge, which is suspended 956 feet above the Arkansas River in Colorado, and is the highest. That one's the highest in the United States. According to the Chinese state media, this bridge also sets a record as the world's longest bridge in a mountainous region spanning 4,600 feet. Hailed as China's latest infrastructure miracle, the bridge is designed to spur tourism and economic growth in one of the country's least developed regions. Okay, so the bridge actually cuts off 2 hours of a drive if you have to go around this gorge.
Wow.
And it turns it into like a 2-minute drive. And what they did is they turned one of the towers, it's a big suspension bridge, they turned one of the towers into a tourist destination. This is why you'll never do this. You can take a high-speed glass elevator up to the top of one of these towers, 2,600 feet above the river. Just to give you perspective, that's twice the height of the Empire State Building, okay? Visitors can also try...
So is it a mile? Is it a mile in the air then, or close to it?
No, the gorge goes down. So that's the game. The gorge goes down like the Grand Canyon, and the bridge is high. So if you're at the top tower of one of these sides of the suspension bridge, you're technically 2,600 feet above the river, which is below you. So the bridge is one thing, and the gorge is another. You could also bungee jump off the bridge, or you can go on a subdeck. So below the road deck, they built another deck, and that's 1,900 feet above the ground. It's a glass walkway, all glass.
My stomach is bothering me thinking about it. Would you bungee jump off that?
I would try it, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I was going to do the
I don't like heights.
Yeah, I know. I was going to do the Stratosphere in Las Vegas, but I think they had it closed for bad weather. That's a bungee jump as well off that casino. And so this province, Guizhou, I think I'm pronouncing it, it's Guizhou, is home to about 40 million people, has undergone an infrastructure campaign in recent decades as part of the Chinese government's war on poverty. It now has more than 32,000 bridges that are either completed or under construction, compared to about 2,900 in the 1980s. It's also home to the second largest bridge, which is called the Duge Bridge, D-U-G-E. Would you say that? Duge? Duji? I don't know Chinese.
Yeah.
Which opened in 2016. So, yeah, big infrastructure project. I love this stuff, so really cool.
I saw this article, and I thought of you because people were talking about, could you walk across it? Would you be afraid to look down or whatever? But the other thing I wondered about is how they built it.
Oh,
because so many bridges, they do scaffolding from below up. And I wondered, did they build this with high-powered military helicopters to place things? Because how would you build this?
So,
I wondered about
with this, suspension bridge, they normally build the two towers, the two sides, and then they usually put the cabling.
The big cable, right?
And then they hang the road bed from the cable, and they hang their bed going from tower to tower to tower. So they hang it in sections. But yeah, that's how they do it. It's a pretty amazing.
I wonder if anyone was killed making it.
I would.
And is somebody going to paint it?
Who's going to paint it? Yeah. Yeah, it's hey, look, they're getting the George Washington Bridge here in New York City ready for a centennial celebration, and they've been replacing the cables and just watching these guys. And this is nowhere near, the GW Bridge is nowhere near as big as this thing in China. It's a crazy job to climb up to those towers and on the cables and stuff. It's quite something.
I'm surprised they didn't paint it orange to copy the Golden Gate, but
yeah, it's blue. If you saw the article, the picture is like a sky blue. It's like a light blue. So there you go.
No,
China.
Yeah, no, that's. Although I think it's great, it cuts off a lot of time. It's like the time you and I were in that helicopter, and I was petrified, and I said, "What if I don't want to get back on and drive home?" They said it was 4 hours. Remember?
So it could be down.
Could be a 15-minute helicopter ride or 4 hours.
That
You're like,
was,
sit back and close your eyes.
we were at we were in Telluride. And that was,
Telluride, yeah.
The adventure.
CBS helicopter, CBS News, or CBS, yeah.
And Beth had arranged for us to take it, and the guy, as we're approaching the helicopter, the guy's taking the doors off.
Yeah.
And Tim kind of slows down, and he goes, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, I thought you guys would love doors off." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm all on board."
You're hanging out, taking pictures. I'm petrified. My hands are sweating.
I said to the guy, do I have a chance? If I'm strapped in, can I fall out? No, you
Suck
can't
out.
fall out. You're gripping that thing like.
Then, of course, I was, totally at ease when they were arguing over where we were in the mountain range, when they took out their old tattered book to find out where we were. The damn thing is about ready to stall. Anyway, that was my last helicopter ride.
What's your last helicopter ride? Yeah. What caught your eye?
So mine took place in Colorado, of all places. We're just talking about Colorado. The headline is Sky High Prices. Colorado man hit with a $19,824 parking fee after a little bit of a system glitch. So this happened earlier.
Glad to hear it's a system glitch.
Yeah, last month. So it says Colorado man was charged nearly $20,000 for for parking less than an hour, less than a half hour, actually. It was 28 minutes or 27 minutes. At the Denver International Airport garage, he was dropping his wife off on a flight to Germany. The standard fee would have been $7. They said this is the second time such an error has happened in the last 2 months. They're not sure why. They think they figured this one out. But as he was exiting, his credit card was charged $19,824. He just put it in and left and didn't pay attention. He said, "Thank God I had enough credit on my credit card for it to go through." But then he looked at it, he said all of a sudden he was starting to get these alerts from the Chase Bank. And then he looked and saw that he had been charged $19,824 for this. So he immediately thought it was a joke, but then he realized he had heard about something similar that happened a month ago in the news. So he pulled over and contacted the airport assistant or officials. They tried to look it over. They did find that it read his plate. So there's a camera that reads his plate coming in and out. And it mistook a B for an 8. And there was another car, I guess, that was in there with a similar plate. And whereas he had a B, the camera read it as an 8. And, of course, apropos, the name of the parking service is Lazy Parking, L-A-Z. So,
Laz. Sure, I know Laz, yeah.
Laz, Lazy. So they issued him a refund, and they also credited him the $7 fee and apologized for the mistake. They said this has happened a few times there. Some woman was billed $2,300 for 14 hours of parking. Again, it showed that her car had been in there for more than 2 months. And again, they said it was the cameras malfunctioning is what they're blaming it on anyway. But they said there's only been 4 instances, really, so this isn't much of a big deal. Just be sure you check your tickets when you leave because they do about 1.5 million transactions per month.
Oh, my God.
And so they said this isn't a widespread issue, but it is an issue, and they're trying to upgrade the software and make sure that things are more in order. I had something similar happen to me once when I was working at Subaru. You know, a lot of the license plates there were DTMs.
Yes.
And sometimes the cameras would pick them up and sometimes not. And I had a similar issue, but I had gone to an attendant when I was leaving the airport, and they wanted to charge me, I think it was $400 or $500 for parking. And I said I was only here 2 days. And she was arguing with me and about the plate. And she said, well, we think, here's what she accused me of leaving my car there for 4 months or something, and then going and just taking a ticket and trying to get out with that ticket. I said, if you have cameras, which I'm sure you do all over this airport, that show me doing that, I'll give you $1 million. I said, because that would have required me to be here 2 days ago to come and just take a ticket and then me do whatever I was doing for 2 days and come back to get my car out. And finally, she let me go. And I convinced her that I'd only been there. I showed her my airline ticket, the whole deal, that I'd only been there 2 days. And so I could see where that would be a hassle. But can you imagine if the issue that this guy had with it, he said, fortunately, my credit card had a high charge amount or line of credit on it. He said, but it could have really screwed somebody up because if you all of a sudden got charged like that it's either going to shut your card off, and if it's the only card you have, other payments are then going to be denied, or if you have things on recurring monthly charges. So he said he was glad he caught it, and thankful that the bank had alerted him that this, odd charge had come through. So, have you ever had that happen with cards?
No. And I'm wondering about the passion of the parking attendant who wanted to make you show all this. Like, why would she care?
Yeah.
Like at this, it's parking. So did her job hinge on like stopping you and making sure you're not robbing them of a couple bucks? I mean, that's the thing that really gets me about some of this is like, how invested are you really in this?
Right. And I said I had said it's a company car, it's company plates. I'm using my credit card that I'm going to turn in, or company, whatever. But no, she was determined. I guess they'd had an issue where people were
not
doing exactly what she said, or they were taking an extra ticket and handing them off to somebody else. But the tickets, that's the problem. The tickets would read DTM, and sometimes they wouldn't. They would not read the DTM. So that's where it was like, well, this isn't your ticket. You've got somebody else's parking ticket. I'm like, no, I don't. This is the ticket I had when I came in. And
you came to enjoy the airport's fine dining. Just like Westchester County Airport. I take my family there all the time for shopping and dining. Brian
where every day is like the fall of Jakarta. The Westchester County Airport.
And that's what, the Westchester, and that's what got him to,
got him in trouble.
Yeah.
So, hey, many of you know that Deep Discount's a partner of ours here on the Focus Group. Right now, they've got a sale going on, Blu-ray under 20, which we're going to visit in a minute or two. But first, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Nash, and he's going to fill you in on the results from Criterion Month with Deep Discount. Mr. Nash.
Yes, a big thank you to Deep Discount and for arranging the game, and to our friends at the Criterion Collection for providing a lot of movies. Okay, first, congratulations to all our listeners. You guys are hard to fool, for sure. I would say that everybody who entered at any point in September is probably going to get a disc. I'm doing the grid right now. But we want to tell you what the clues were that actually were played. So at the very first week of the month, here's the clue.
I don't want to live in a hole anymore. It makes me feel poor.
We are poor, but we're happy.
Come see, come sa.
A lot of you got this. Wes Anderson's The Fantastic Mr. Fox, one of my favorites. It's stop motion animation. It's a wonderful movie, and that was George Clooney's voice. Week number 2.
Ask me. What? The question you've been wanting to ask ever since we met.
Are you Lithuanian?
I come from England.
Oh, that's not so terrible.
Are you Lithuanian? I come from England. Oh, that's not so terrible. David Bowie, Rip Torn, The Man Who Fell to Earth. Many of you got that, and it turns out this is a favorite movie for a lot of people. Are like, oh, I knew that right away. And here is week 3.
Mrs. Robinson has a stroke, so she can't talk.
It's going to be funny?
Yeah, it'll be funny.
With
Dark
a stroke?
and weird and funny and with a stroke.
Okay.
Maybe it's not a stroke.
Buck Henry, Tim Robbins in the movie called The Player. It opens literally on that scene where Buck Henry's pitching a movie to Tim Robbins, who's a studio exec. The movie's a really scathing take on Hollywood. Brilliant film. And last week...
You think you could make any woman happy? Have you lived this long without knowing that everybody laughs at you behind your back? You'd be pathetic if you weren't so disgusting. You clammy, ludicrous... No!
I resurrected this from our serious days because Tim had asked me a question. And he said, hey, were there any clues that no one ever got? And this one no one got from our Sirius XM days. It's a movie called The Big Clock. And I believe this year we did have, I think it might have been Chris Lavery who got this. Wow. So again, congrats to everybody who played. I'm going to be processing the list and sending out your discs. Criterion gave us a lot of great movies. So thanks to Criterion. Thank you to Deep Discount. And on with the show, as Tim said, it is a Blu-ray under 20 month, and I'm cruising through the site, and I come across a movie that I really just smile when I see it and I hear the title. The movie is called Earth Girls Are Easy. It stars Gina Davis, Jim Carrey, Jeff Goldblum, and Damon Wayans. It's kind of this daffy movie. Well, here's the description, which does a darn good job. When a spaceship crashes into Los Angeles manicurist Valerie's swimming pool. She helps the fur-covered, sex-crazed crew, Jim Carrey, Jeff Goldblum, Damon Wayans, disguise themselves as Earthlings and assimilate into the Southern California lifestyle. Zany, song-filled parodies of 50s sci-fi and Valley Girl culture. Also starring Julie Brown, Michael McKean, Charles Rocket, Larry Linville. It's a 100-minute movie, so it's an hour and 40 minutes. It's a funny movie, and I remember seeing it in the theater with my old roommate Greg, and we just thought it was hysterical. So my pick was Earth Girls Are Easy. Tim, what did you pick?
There were two, and I actually thought you were going to pick the one that I didn't pick, which was Boogie Nights.
That is such a classic, right?
Yeah. And I picked another classic, at least for me, Adventures in Babysitting, which is the 25th anniversary edition. And it stars Elizabeth Shue, and it's essentially she's a babysitter. And she expects to just be kind of bored and stay home watching these kids in the suburb of Chicago. And she gets a frantic call from a friend of hers that's at a Chicago bus station. So she packs up the kids and off they go to try to find her in Chicago.
Oh, she takes the kids with them.
Takes the kids with her. And it's quite an adventure. If you like kind of, I would say, in the realm or in the genre of any of the old John, why am I forgetting his name? The guy who did 16 Candles and all that.
John
Hughes.
Huston? Yeah, John Hughes. Yeah.
If you like any of those sort of movies from the 80s, you'll really enjoy this. It's a lot of fun, and I just think one of those make you smile movies. And so I picked Adventures in Babysitting.
Because you picked that, I am now putting that on my list.
You haven't seen it?
No, and I'm glad you described it as a John Hughes kind of fun-filled, no one gets hurt in the end.
There's three. You'll love it because one of the little kids is a huge sci-fi superhero nut.
Okay.
And so she's babysitting an older kid who probably doesn't really need a babysitter, so he kind of has a thing for the babysitter, and then the little kids, and they get in the station wagon. She has no idea. Typical babysitter from the suburbs, right? The nice suburbs of Chicago, and then tries to go through downtown finding this girl at the Greyhound station. And
in Chicago, no less.
In Chicago, right. So and all that comes with it. So I think you'll enjoy it.
All right, I'm on board. Well, we do have a new release this week, and it's the 50th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I say that.
My gosh.
The 50th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Okay, so the description I just think is hysterical that Deep Discount has on their site. Fasten your garter belt and relive the time-warping, gender-bending cult classic when a newly engaged couple, Barry Bostwick and Susan Sarandon, their car breaks down on a rainy night. They wind up in the creepy castle of Dr. Frankenfurter, played by Tim Curry. There they have an adventure that will thrill you, chill you, and fulfill you like never before. Okay, so this is Meatloaf. This is Let's Do the Time Warp Again.
Oh, my God.
Transvestite from Transsexual Transylvania. I mean, this is the movie that everybody would go see and throw toast at the screen. And remember
the
midnight showings.
The umbrellas, the toilet paper, everything.
Yeah, I forgot the umbrellas. That's right. Okay. And there would be people who would reenact in front of the movie theater. I remember we saw this at West 4th Street once, and people were lined up in the front, dressed as the characters, doing the movie as the movie was playing. I mean,
everybody getting up and doing the time warp.
Yeah. So you can have this movie in your collection, 50th anniversary edition. It's going to sparkle. It's going to look great. And come on, I think you have to have this. So, hey folks, we're going to do a recap here. It's the Blu-ray under 20 sale at Deep Discount. We played the clues from the Criterion game of last month, which everybody did great at. I picked a movie called Earth Girls Are Easy. Tim picked Adventures in Babysitting?
Adventures in Babysitting.
Yeah, and the movie this week, the release is the 50th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's a must-have for any collection, and I'll leave it there. So big thanks to Criterion and to Deep Discount. We're going to take a really quick break. When we come back, we have our signature business birthday and a shop talk about Gen Z, which I think you'll find fascinating, so stick with us.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Now back to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Available pretty much everywhere.
welcome back to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here with John Nash. Thanks for joining us here. Be sure to catch our show, or our podcast, the Focus Group, TFG Unbuttoned, which is released on Tuesdays, and you'll find everything at focusgroupradio.com. Without further ado, Mr. Nash, we've got our business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
Happy 65th. Born today, October 8th, 1960, American billionaire and businessman, Wilmot Reed Hastings Jr. Just goes by Reed.
Yeah, could you say that name again? Because when I was putting it into the graphics, if you're watching on YouTube, I had to do a pause. I'm like, what an interesting middle name, right?
Wilmot Reed Hastings. You know, it's funny. My grandmother's maiden name was Wilmot, and
really,
yeah, and we're descendants of the Wilmot family in Connecticut. Not that that means anything, but but it's an interesting old English name. But I was wondering about that because a lot of people will have, you and I have pretty boring middle names.
Oh, very, yeah.
But I used to go to school with kids that their first name they never used, but for whatever reason, or people do it to maybe be different or to, I don't want to say be pompous, but people will use a middle name instead of their actual name. So if their real first name is Bill, or Fred or something, they might use whatever the family middle name was, like Dexter or something like that. And people will use that to help them. So in this case, he used Reed Hastings, although Wilmot would be.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
Quite a name, too. Although he said his mother was a debutante, and she was repulsed by the world of high society, so Wilmot might be a bit more stuffy than Reed.
Repulsed, yeah, okay.
So he was born October 8th, 1960. American billionaire businessman, was the co-founder and chairman of Netflix. And we all know what Netflix is. He served on many boards, was very heavily involved and donated to lots of nonprofit organizations, particularly around education and charter schools and schools for the African-American community. Donated millions of dollars to historically black colleges and has also set up millions of dollars in scholarships for underprivileged kids for education. So in that aspect, thank you, Netflix. He went to school at Bowdoin, which is a nice, great little private college up in Maine. His worth as of May 2025 was only $6.6 billion.
Oh, shucks.
And John, just like me, I don't know what happened. He was selling vacuum cleaners door to door when he was in between his college gap year. So he must have sold the rainbow like I did, but he made out a little better than me. I don't have $6.6 billion, but we both were selling the rainbow vacuum.
He might have had a better shtick when he went to the households to sell the vacuums.
Might have. He graduated from Bowdoin in '83, and he went into the Marine Corps. And he was going to do he went to officer candidate school, but ended up not signing up. So, they give you 2 years to decide whether it's something you want to do. So he ended up instead going into the Peace Corps. And he said he learned in the Peace Corps one thing about business that he still uses to this day. He says, once you've hitchhiked across Africa with $10 in your pocket, you start to realize that starting a business isn't too intimidating. So when he decided to be an entrepreneur,
what a great line, huh?
Yeah, he said, if I could do that, then I certainly could be an entrepreneur. So he left the Peace Corps, moved to California, went, MIT is probably kicking themselves. He wanted to go to MIT, and they rejected him. He was going to get a master's in computer science, and so he ended up going to Stanford instead. MIT is probably a little upset. They've lost out on quite a donation.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. He worked for a woman at the time. He was working with a software company called Adaptive Technology. And there was a woman who was the CEO at the time named Audrey McLean. And he says, from her, I learned the value of focus. I learned that it's better to do one product well than to do two products or more in a mediocre way. So it was this focus on one product. And he worked with a friend of his, Mark Randolph, at the software company, and he, had a successful career there. But in 1997, he said he was driving home, and he had a note from Blockbuster that he had taken out a movie, Apollo 13, and it had a late fee. It was 6 weeks late, and he owed the video store $40.
Oh my God, he could have bought the thing. Yeah.
So he said he misplaced the cassette. He said it was my fault. I didn't want to tell my wife about it. I knew he said I didn't want to compromise my marriage over the integrity of me spending $40 on this movie over late fees. But he said as he was going to the gym, he realized that there must be a better way to do these movies than to go to this Blockbuster getting these late fees. He said, what if you paid 30 or $40 a month and you could,
Unlimited.
like you do in a gym, you can go every day, you can go 3 times a day, or you don't have to go. So he said the model for Netflix that he came up with in his mind was that of a gym, that you pay a monthly fee, you could take out as many as you want or get as many as you want or as little as you want, but you're going to pay this flat fee of 30 or $40. And so that was where it started in his mind. Of course, they didn't start at 30 or 40 initially. And then, of course, streaming had happened. Blockbuster says this never happened. That they don't have a, they were trying to sue him to tell him to stop telling this story because apparently he tells this story a lot. And they say they're not
Why
able
would
to
they
find.
bother bringing attention to it by suing him for?
Because they were embarrassed, I guess, by the
Okay.
late fees.
Yep.
And then they said that they've sued him to demand him from stop telling the story. And they were unable to find his transaction in its records. But he said, whatever, he still tells the story. He said,
Whatever.
he's a big proponent of internet TV and he sees that as the future. He also credits YouTube for his shift in strategy. So Netflix was this mail service, right, where you would order the movies.
The DVDs, yeah.
Subscription. So he said YouTube really helped convince him for the strategy in 2007 to start streaming and streaming shows to and movies to televisions and computers. So they grew the company. He said he noticed as he grew the company that he was going to provide some innovative management practices. And he said, again, it was all around the culture at Netflix of having freedom and responsibility. So they said even mediocre or particularly mediocre employees would be offered huge severance packages to leave because he figured if you weren't part of the culture or wanted to be part of this innovative environment, he wanted you to move on. So he almost made it too good to say, I've got to leave because they're offering me all this money to go. He said they also eliminated all sick and vacation times. Instead, they allow employees to manage their time off individually. So if you wanted to take 3 weeks and go to Europe, as long as your work's done or you figure it out, that's fine. So there was no set, you're only allowed 3 vacation days this month, or you're only allowed 5 sick days a year or something. So he said he created this internal culture guide, which they ended up using as also a way to pre-screen employees. So they would give them this guide of here's how we operate, here's what we do, and they actually use that as this internal guide publicly to actually say, here's who we are and here's what we believe. And if this isn't for you, then you should probably look for employment elsewhere. And he and his wife, they live in California. He also owns over 10 million in Facebook shares. He bought the majority ownership of a ski resort in Utah with $100 million. And he's going to try to make it a members-only ski club in addition to some planned residential developments. As I said, he's given millions of dollars to education, supported both Republican and Democrat candidates for president, supported Hillary Clinton, but also supported Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger and supported Kamala Harris in the last election. So happy birthday to Reed Hastings.
You know, Tim, I actually, it's so interesting when you were reviewing the history of Netflix because isn't it amazing that I forgot that it began as a DVD service and used to get your plan was either 1 at a time or we used to get 3 at a time. And as you sent a disc back, the next one on your list would come. And it was no rush. You could have a disc for as long as you wanted. And then I remember the transition to streaming. I was a little upset about that because I preferred to get the actual media. But wow, that's what a reminder. And then, when they switched completely, when they shut down the DVD thing, did you remember they had a big, they sold the discs?
Right.
You could go and buy the used discs, I guess.
Yeah, they had over, they said he had over 100,000 titles and 100 million subscribers, which is outrageous to me, although it must have been worldwide, right? Because 100 million.
Yeah, yeah. And they had distribution centers all over the country that had some of these discs and some duplicates and stuff. So it was quite the system, and it really did kick Blockbuster in the ass, because if you could just go on your computer, put your list together, get your movies, why would you be bothering with Blockbuster, right?
It sounds just like such a simple thing.
Yeah.
But at the time,
Well,
I guess it was...
isn't it always the case that this solution,
Yeah.
like it's a solution to a problem? He didn't want to tell his wife about the late fee. He got sick of going to the video store. Bing, light bulb goes off, and we have Netflix.
Right. Well, on the way to the gym, he says, you know what, I pay to go to the gym, and I could use it as little or as much as I want.
As much as
and
I
I don't
want,
have to worry about a late fee, or if I go every day, I'm going to get charged more. And that became
Those are the
model for
things that
Netflix.
happen, and that's how ideas are born, and I just love that. So, yeah.
So we have a shop talk this week, and this has been, I'll read the headline first. Suzy Welch worries that Gen Z is unemployable, and some leaders are intervening to teach them basic life skills. So over the last few days, I've seen this pop up on the Wall Street Journal and some other news shows. But Suzy Welch, who is the wife of Jack Welch, famed from General Electric, had done this study, and where she was looking at and talking with corporate America and Gen Z to figure out what expectations were in the workplace. And they said that Welch, an NYU professor and business journalist, published the widely discussed op-ed in the Wall Street Journal last week, asserting that the major values prized by hiring managers, which were achievement, learning, and a strong desire to work, are priorities only for 2% of the Gen Z studies surveyed. So 98% of the people were not, of Gen Z cohort, were not in line with what hiring managers were looking for in the workplace, which would be achievement, learning, and a strong desire to work. And then it goes through a whole number of reasons and I guess personality traits of Gen Z. Was any of this a surprise to you?
No, because they hook a lot of this back to rampant phone use from very early age forward, which sort of short circuits this idea of socialization and speaking to others and conflict resolution, etc. It was, and then in the article they talked to a couple of different people, and a woman named Liz Field, who's the CEO of Radical Hope, a nonprofit dedicated to equipping young adults on college campuses with better communication, interpersonal, emotional intelligence skills, noted that this generation has elevated anxiety, stress, and depression over the last few years, and it ties into their fear of not enough entry-level positions when they graduate, AI taking their job, and then there's this whole thing that Tim said. You know, when hiring managers look to hire someone, the work ethic is in there. But this generation prefers to think about their jobs as, is it giving back? Am I making a difference?
Does the company have a purpose?
Does the company have a purpose? So it's literally a disconnect between what the normal hiring manager, who's a different generation, wants to see versus what these kids actually think and feel about jobs and perhaps capitalism in general. I mean, if you want to take it even larger than that. And then there's this other thing that popped up in the article, which I thought was really fascinating, that Suzy Welch delved into. It was their inability to prioritize things. Like, they give an example at one point where an intern at a company who was doing very well was going to be offered a full-time gig at that company. And he was going to meet with his mentor, or the guy that was going to offer him the position, for lunch. In the intervening time, he got an email about attending a business meeting, which was actually more important than the lunch that he was going to have with this guy. But he didn't know what to do, so he decided that he could go to the meeting, leave early, go late, and still have lunch. And he left the guy flummoxed, like, well, the meeting was more important because it says right here, this is an all-hands-on-deck thing versus the lunch. So there's that, and then there's social etiquette seems to be low on the totem pole here, and interpersonal skills, which we've talked about numerous times with the Gen Z thing. So companies are stepping in to offer help and to offer mentorship and guidance. But do you think this is every single Gen Z, or is this just, are we just putting a bunch of people in a basket and saying the whole generation is like this?
Well, I think the frightening number for me is 98%. Whether it's 90% or 98 or 70%. It's still a high number to say that they're not in line with what corporations want. Another example that you mentioned was letting the new employees know that you have to answer email and you have to
using a calendar program.
You have to accept a calendar, right? There's a meeting. You have to say that I'm going to attend or I'm not going to attend. For instance, there are certain things in life that are required, and when you're working in the workplace, there are things that are required that you have to do. I've noticed it with my nieces that there is a slavish dependence on the phone.
Yeah.
And so this to me, and we've said this many times, and we've seen that at networking events, we've seen it with young people. There's so much that's being missed out on with interpersonal communication. Somebody in an office, in the cube next to you, get up and talk to them. Why would you send them something, an email?
Yeah,
people
over
do that.
over the wall.
Over the wall. They don't get up and talk. And they talked about the helicopter parents are going to attend an interview. I had a student senior in college wanted to talk to me about marketing, but her mother contacted me.
I remember you told me. I love this story because what was your answer to that?
But I said, well, why does if she's in marketing, she's going to have to learn to speak with people or have the skill to say, hi, I'm such and such. Would you mind answering a few questions for me for this thesis I'm doing in my senior class? And then I thought this one was just made my eyes open wide. It said that they had talked to parents are offering a therapeutic boarding school and they were sending kids, young adults that were afraid to interact, and they were going to this boarding school to actually learn how to interact. They said one of the exercises that they had was to practice going into a Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's and practice giving somebody money and getting change.
Tim, I can't believe I'm staring at that exact paragraph right now because basically they were trying to break the habits these people have established of not interacting with other people by playing like they're on their phone or just grabbing the bag and walking out, right?
Well, so many people on the apps will do this at a coffee shop or convenience store or anything for pickup. They order it on the app. It's sitting on some random shelf somewhere. I'm surprised more people don't steal things. Maybe they do. They worry about self-checkout. But so you go in there on your phone looking at whatever you're doing. It tells you your order is ready. It's on the shelf. It's number 3. You pick it up. Or you just take it from somebody. And I've seen this happen. I've watched it in the checkout lines. There's no thank you. There's no interaction. If somebody is forced to have to go through the checkout line on their phone looking. A friend of ours who owns he's retired now, but he owned a franchise. I remember him saying when anybody came in on the phone like that, looking down and then barking orders about their order, he would say, you could step aside when you're done, come back in line. Because he had questions, would you like this? Do you want that? Do you need this? And they're playing on their phone or talking on the phone. He's like, when you're done, step out of the line. When you're done, come back. And people would get furious about that. But
Bob
I just find it so.
Oh, I don't understand the behavior. Bob and I were at a Stop and Shop about 2 weeks ago, and the woman in front of us who was checking out, her kids were going crazy. One of her kids actually opened, the ice, when you buy a bag of ice, there's the 2 glass door thing. One of her kids crawled into the ice machine. And she's saying to the kid, get out of the ice machine. The cashier rang everything through. The woman was on her phone almost the entire time, yelling at the kids. And she tried to pay by tapping the phone. It didn't work. She never even looked at the cashier, and the cashier said, you canceled it by accident. Try it again. She does it again. She was there for at least 5 or 7 minutes, doing nothing but trying to pay. When she left, I said to the cashier, I should apologize for her behavior. And then she goes, don't. She goes, because I've seen worse. And I said, worse than this? She said, oh, yeah. I said, worse than the kids in the ice machine? She goes, too bad the door didn't. Too bad the door didn't get stuck, But, I mean, where do you even... I don't know. You and I used to have funny...
Would you be able to work in that environment?
No.
I would probably lose my patience.
I gave the cashier a great deal of credit for the fact that she said, I've seen worse. And then she asked us how our day was going. We chit-chatted for a bit. Like, I never thought there was a problem being courteous and just respectful to the person ringing you up. In fact, when you and I used to work I was at Marshall's, you were at Walden Books, we had great stories of some of our customers engaging us in conversation for funny reasons. But so I think you could say, Tim, that the net on this article is there is a real problem that hiring managers and corporations are seeing. It's not that they're incapable of doing the job or problem solving or being good employees. It's that they're just not equipped with some basic skills that we all had because we didn't have this technology. Would you say that's a very valid thing? Like, minus the phone, you have to interact with people, right?
Yeah, no, very much so. Particularly if you're in a communications job or you want to be in a communications field, you have to be able to do that. And I'm hoping more colleges are requiring speech class and communications classes and those sort of things. But because they summed up the article saying that exactly what you said, the kids are capable. They want their job to have purpose and meaning. We all did, when you think about it. Although the first jobs we had or the first majors we did, right, weren't necessarily, I majored in XYZ, so I can only be XYZ. We went to college, as you said, to learn critical thinking and to learn how to learn and grow as an adult to go into a career. Wasn't necessarily exactly what any of us thought we were doing. But they said that these young adults want to actually learn, and they just don't know how to do it. And because of this reliance on the phone, and their life has always been in front of a screen. And these are kids. What was the year they're born? I forget the exact dates. It's somewhere
2000. Yeah,
I think 97 to 2000.
Tim, I'd say if it's 2025 and these kids are graduating school, you're talking about 98 to 2003, 2004, maybe.
Yeah, I had pulled it up earlier, but it's the Gen Z,
that cohort,
Gen Z,
right?
Yeah, the generation. So it's I don't know. I think it's one of the downfalls of technology. I don't know if you agree with me.
One of the unintended nasty little consequences of technology. We have a bunch of people who just don't know how to socialize and do their thing. So
yeah, here it is. Gen Z or Generation Z includes people born roughly between 1997 and 2012. They've succeeded the millennials and they precede the Generation Alpha. They are digitally native. They're known for being pragmatic, values-centric, and concerned about sustainability and technological savviness. They've grown up with the internet and smartphones as part of their entire life.
When I flew back from Italy a few weeks ago, I had a direct line of sight. I had a direct line of sight to the guy sitting in front of me, who just quietly sat the entire flight, had his phone plugged in. I guess he bought the airplane Wi-Fi. Scroll, stop, play seconds, scroll. It was constant scrolling and playing little clips on TikTok and Instagram. I was watching a TV show, or I was binge watching something, and every time I would look, he was doing that, and it was the finger, and I was like, oh my God, how can you? That's a strange diet, by the way. That's a strange audio-visual diet to have constantly being pumped into your head. That was a 9-hour flight. All right, good story there, Tim. Thank you for finding that. We want to thank you for joining us here on the Focus Group. We know you have plenty of podcasts to choose from. We think it's over 3 million, although if you narrow it down to just the English-speaking ones, if you are, in fact, listening to us in the U.S., that might reduce your choice, but we're glad you chose us. Big thanks to Deep Discount and to the Criterion Collection for playing our game last month, which was Pick That Flick. We gave discs away. Deep Discount is having a Blu-ray 20 and under sale. I picked Earth Girls Are Easy. Tim picked Adventures in Babysitting, kind of like a John Hughes film.
Yep.
And the release this week is the 50th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's sort of a must-have for your collection. So we always like to say here on the Focus Group, please don't text and drive, arrive alive, and we'll see you here next week on the Focus Group.
It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.